Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the January 2023 Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting. If you would rise and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call.
Mr. Burnham?
Present.
Mr. Parker?
Present.
Mr. Bungie?
Here.
Mr. Kapora?
Present.
Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Ms. Abernathy? Present. And Ms. Cheryl Hyduk is present.
Okay. Thank you. First item of business in a new year is nomination and appointment of officers. First nomination we're looking for is for chairman. Do we have any open motions on the floor?
I'll nominate Jeff Bungie for chairman.
Second. Any other nominations? Lastly and third time, any other nominations? Nomination for myself, Jeff Bungie, to be named chairman for this year. Roll call.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. All right, gentlemen, thank you for your confidence and appreciate your support. Second item is nomination and appointment of a vice chairman.
Nominate John. I'll second.
Any other nominations? And lastly, last call, third call for nominations for vice chairman. Motion made to make it Mr. Capura, and we have a second. Roll call.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, John.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda are the minutes as provided for the last two regular meetings. We can make the motion to accept.
I think at the last meeting, I stated that the B3 zoning square footage is 40,000, and you wrote 30,000 in there on page 9. I seen it on the.
Okay.
Okay.
December minutes.
That's for the rage room. It's just a typo, I guess. But that's the only thing I seen.
Okay.
Any other issues with the minutes?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Motion been made by John to accept.
Is that just
With the
a question?
correction.
What's the corrections, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'll second that. Second by Mr. Jackson. Any questions on the motion or the revision? Roll call.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 1, under old business. Glenn and Heather White in the vicinity of 8017 West 146th Avenue, Cedar Lake. Owner and petitioner being the same. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to construct a 20-foot by 26-foot garage with a 5-foot separation between the garage and the house. This is continued items, and legals are still in order, Mr. Austin?
They are, Mr. Bungie. Public hearing was properly noticed.
Folks, are the White folks, are they here?
I don't see him. I did have communication with their contractor today, and he stated he was going to be present for tonight's meeting, and I confirmed the time with him.
Okay.
Did they present any more drawings or anything?
So I had talked with one of our building inspectors, had one of our building inspectors go out and he took a look and he did not see a reason why it could not be moved back to the 6 feet and 9-foot separation. The contractor had been under the assumption that the 20-foot alleyway had not been vacated. Looking at their legal description, the 20-foot alleyway was vacated by Commissioner Court Order Number 28 and was deeded, the whole 20 parcel was deeded to the wife. So he's going to talk to his client and see about moving it back to comply with the 6-foot rear yard, 6-foot side yard, and have the 10-foot separation. But again, that was this morning and confirmed the times, and I don't see anyone here for it.
If that's done though, they won't need a variance then, right?
They would still need it for the 9-foot of separation between the house and the garage, because we require 10.
Well, because they're not here, go ahead and put it off for,
Well, we can move it to the end of the meeting if we think they may be coming up, there could have been a problem. But if there's any other discussion we'd like to make now, I suppose we can keep the public hearing open at this point, or should we just move it to the end?
You may want to check and see who's here in the audience for.
Okay. Do we have remonstrators either for or against this particular case? Variance request? Anybody online that's ever anything?
Okay.
Okay. Well, we could act upon it. We could move it to the end of the meeting. We could automatically defer it till next month. We have a couple of options, gentlemen.
I would say to defer to next month. They're not here to represent it. I don't personally want to put judgment on it without hearing.
Can you hold it till the end of the meeting in case they show up?
That was my proposal. I think we can do that, can't we, David?
You may.
And if they don't show up, then
Then we'll defer it. Okay.
Do you need to make a motion for that?
No. Chair can go over that.
Okay, we're gonna move item number 1 of old business to the end of the meeting after new business. Second item under old business is Cratched, Cedar Lake Commercial LLC, Jill Shaw, Kendra Cratched, in the vicinity of 12841 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. This variance of use is to allow the petitioner to operate a B3 use in an existing building located in the B2 zoning district with the business operating plan to include a retail store, 3 rage rooms, a room for glass throwing only, 1 stage for open mic nights, snack shop, an arcade room, and for an additional use of 2 private studios for an art studio and a music studio to be located upstairs and not accessible, to the public. And this is also a continued item from last month, and the legals, I presume, everything is still in
They
order.
are in order.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Board of Zoning and Appeals Attorney Nathan Viss on behalf of the owner, Cedar Lake Commercial, as well as the petitioner, Kendra Crock, with her husband, Mike Crock. What you have before you this evening, I think, is an exciting new addition to our community. It provides an entertainment venue which has not been seen here in Lake County south of Route 30. There is something similar that you might find in the Maryville region, the bowling alley, Axor, and things of that nature. So this is kind of a spin off of that idea. The location is 12841 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303. That current zoning is B2, but I do understand, and Ms. Abernathy, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's a B3 overlay area of the
There's a
district?
B3 overlay district on the US 41 corridor.
Correct. The proposed use that my clients are asking for is going to include both a retail store, a total of 3 rage rooms, a total room for glass throwing only, a stage for open mic nights. What they're anticipating is going to be at most 2 a month, what they're planning on right now, a snack shop and an arcade room, and 2 additional use of 2 private studios upstairs for art and music studios. And if I can approach, I've got some additional mapping to address some of the concerns that I understand were raised at the last meeting.
This was the former site of what?
So this was the former site. I had there used to be a
Golf cart shop?
golf cart shop, and after that, there was a store there that housed a lot of old stereo equipment.
Vintage stereo equipment.
The owner of that entity passed away. I was involved in a significant dispute over the dissolution of all those assets. I saw the interior of the premises, it was in a state of disrepair, and I'm very happy to see the changes that my clients have made to the interior, brightened it up, fresh paint, half walls, things of that nature, really to make this location safe for what they are proposing to do here. What you have there in front of you, then, if we can go through the pages, on the first page is the existing survey of the location with the parking lot that's currently there. And what you can see is there's approximately 14 in the parking lot. There would be 3 on the right-hand side of the building where it says concrete pad, so that brings it to a total of 17. Sat down with my clients, and we put our creative heads together and said, well, reasonably, what can we do with this location, because parking is a concern with what they are proposing to do. So if you turn to the second page, and by changing our geometry of the parking spaces and making them angled, we can now fit a total of 34 parking spaces just by angling the parking and creating a couple of center spaces within the middle, which still allows for 22 feet for turning circumference throughout the location. If you turn to the third page, you get a sense of what the inside is going to look like, just from a black and white overview. Just holding it straight up here, what you're going to see when you walk in is stock rooms, office. You're going to see a smashable store, which is where you can procure the items that you and your friends would be able to smash if that's what you want to do. There's a snack room there. You'll see a rage stage, arcade room, and then there's a couple of other rage rooms to house the persons or their friends when they're smashing things together, to be separate from everyone else. And just of note, for everyone on the Board of Zoning and Appeals, I think at first blush, and even myself at first blush, when I was retained by my clients about a week and a half ago, I said, really? And I started to dive in and do a bunch of research on this concept of rage rooms, and it's starting to find increasing positivity throughout the nation. I found a couple articles from the Cleveland Clinic, actually, from a couple therapists that have said while we don't recommend it for those that have anger problems in the sense that this is your outlet, they see no problem at all for folks to get together and go and smash bottles, cans, things of that nature, which is what people used to do in a junkyard, and candidly today we don't have that outlet. So it allows us to release a little bit of that inner child in us that we all have. If you turn the page then to the very last page, what we've done there is offered up a couple of parking calculations. We have business one spot for 200 square feet, and there's approximately 780 square feet, which requires 4 spots. Arcade, which is 1 spot per 100 feet. We have 157 square feet for the arcade location, and then for the music venue requires 1 spot per 50 feet, I believe, Ms. Abernathy. So at 1,100 feet, that would require 22. So the total requirement is 28, and what we have shown that we can provide at this particular location is in excess of 34 spots. The other item, appreciate working with Ms. Abernathy on this. You know, she had gone back and forth with some folks in the office, and she had expressed to me that the closest item, being that this is kind of a unique venue, would be a shopping center. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be we need to have a minimum of 24 was your calculation based upon the square footage of what was provided.
That was in communication with the town engineer. So after I talked with Mr. Viss, I talked to the town engineer, Don, to find out what type of parking schedule would even fit with this, because rage room and amusement uses aren't called out with the exception of bowling alleys. The town ordinance 1402 allows for the purposes of this parking schedule, shopping centers is defined as any single structure or group of structures designed and used for 3 or more distinctly separate commercial uses, excepting bowling alleys and theaters. Talking with Don, Don agreed with that interpretation, and that what would be required is 6 pages per 100 square feet of floor area, and that if the best they could get to 24 would be acceptable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, this doesn't include the practice space upstairs or the art studio. Did you not figure those in?
Correct. So those are anticipated to be mainly primarily used for my client. Mike Crock is an artist, so he's anticipated utilizing that space. Mr. Chairman, I believe, let me turn back to that page, how much square foot that is. So the upstairs, what we are looking at is, oh boy, now you're asking me to do some mental math. I think you're good at mental math. If we go 25 times 14 is what?
A whole bunch.
So 250 plus 125, which is 375, and their storage. So you're looking at about 450 square feet upstairs. Take out the stairwell, and it was what, for every 50 square feet, Ms. Abernathy?
Yes.
Okay, so it's roughly 400 square feet upstairs. I'd have to back out, some of that is actually storage space. So you take out that storage space, so you're probably right at 300 square feet. So that's an additional 6, so we're still right at that 34, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
But shouldn't it include all the square footage, regardless if it's storage, or the owners or employees are using it, or?
I guess the way that I would interpret it would be the amount of usable space, and I couldn't stand to be corrected, but that would be my understanding, is that we shouldn't, the space is going to be clearly allocated for just storage in and of itself, which is quite a significant amount in this location because of the amount of merchandise that has to be sold and smashed. That's in essence not housing customers.
On your parking map, I'm only seeing 30 spots. Am I missing the other 4 somewhere?
Good question. Yep, good find. They're buried, Mr. Jackson, they're buried. There's 3 right here on this concrete pad. It's kind of hard to see.
All right, in that grayed out area?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's 33 then?
34, if I do my math correctly, 30. Where's 31?
Behind space number 1.
I see 34.
There's 30 right there. I'm missing 30, 31, 32, 33. Unless I misspoke.
Yeah, did you
I
say,
misspoke. I misspoke.
Mr. Viss, did you say that there's 3 parking spots on the gravel?
No, it's a
Well, not the
concrete
gravel, but it designated like concrete area.
It's a concrete pad area. Yeah, I misspoke. I thought I had listed 34. 33. So right at the amount that's necessary.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
All right, is there anything else that you feel you need to present at this time?
That is all that I have. I will step aside for public comment.
Do we have any remonstrators for this variance? Anyone to speak? Would you mind stepping up to the podium, please?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is John Van Proyen. I'm the co-owner of VPW Ventures, which is directly across the street at 12828 Wicker Avenue.
Across the street?
Across the street, across 41.
Okay,
Just north of the building with the red roof right there.
gotcha.
I wish to speak out against this particular project. I personally think that a rage room, glass throwing on Route 41 is bad public policy. I hear the petitioner has not made an effort to reach out to local owners that I'm aware of. I did not receive a phone call at least. And when I think about something like this, I think about just the effort that goes involved. If you were to contact the town of Schererville, you would learn that there's dramatically higher public services required of the police for the axe throwing that they have at the bowling alley. You got to be careful when you're talking about facilities that have large numbers of people that can come into a facility like that. I've not heard anything from the petitioner with regards to the minimum number of security people that they would have available on the nights that they would be in action. The town of Portage has what used to be a roller rink, and the roller rink was overrun by gangs one night. I would urge you to talk to the town of Portage with regards to what they learned in that process about the number of security and things like that. I think that this is a small building, it's a small facility. You could have a number of people that congregate. I would like to hear the maximum number. I would like to hear that it was going to be only for reserve times, that it's not come on in, we're open on a given night to do that. You will find that you will have gangs and other groups that will overrun the facility. And that's what I believe that they found in Portage. So I wish to speak out against it. I don't really encourage that the town of Cedar Lake would even consider this at all. But if you were to consider it, let it be out in the outskirts where there's a barn way away from public and other businesses and residences. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other remonstrators? Do we have anything in print? Do we have anybody online?
I received some communication from Mr. Dan Mihalovich, who was present last month.
Last month.
His property is the one to the rear and his mother's is the one directly south. His comments were he's not opposed to the business, but he has concerns about the parking, people driving over his mother's property, about the fence in the rear yard, about how it's dilapidated against his fence. He sent a message to me the other day that reads, as per our conversation this morning, I am sending this email due to the fact that I will not be in attendance for the board meeting on January 12th. I am out of town for work. In addition to my first letter, I wanted to present more insight into our concerns. My mom has lived at 12845 Wicker for over 50 years. She has seen many businesses operate at 12841 for over 40 years, and not once complained or expressed concerns until now due to the planned increased activity of the subject property. The concerns being public theft, personal safety with traffic flow in and out of US 41 and parking cars onto 12845. 12841 has a shared ingress-egress access to US 41, one entrance and exit. The problem isn't entering the lot, it's exiting the lot. Cars will exit at times to both properties north and south of the subject property with minimal business activity. They are the property to the south. With a planned increase in the business activity, we feel this behavior will get worse, along with using 12845 as a parking area for overflow of business activity. In summary, they feel they have reasonable concerns and pray that a fair and sensible decision is made.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley, for reading that into that. Anyone else in person? For or against? Being none, we'll close the public portion of this hearing. Somebody up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To address a couple of the concerns that have been raised in regards to the neighbor whose concern is the parking as well as the driving over adjacent properties. I've spoken with my client, Cedar Lake Properties. They were unaware that that was the case. They've expressed to me that if they do receive word that that is going to happen or that does happen from anyone who is a visitor to this particular location, they're happy to install permanent structures along the edge of the property to ensure that they can't traverse over the edge of the property. In regards to the fencing, my clients have fixed the fence, and so that should no longer be an issue, and that is in good repair. In regards to some of the other concerns that have been raised, what's being proposed here is a bit different than some of the other items and locations that have been described. Number one is I should note that my clients have a couple of rules, and that is going to be that anyone between the ages of 12 and 15 must be accompanied by a parent. Number two, anyone that's between the ages of 15 and 17 must have a signed parent-guardian slip on file that also reflects who their parent-guardian is. It can't just be you walk in and my dad or mom signed this, but it's actually reflective of who they are, such as a copy of their driver's license. Third item is going to be, it's a little bit different from the other locations in the sense of there's going to be significant protective gear that these folks are going to have to wear in order to enter into some of these rooms, and it's a maximum of 2 persons that are allowed into the room at one time for safety reasons. And on top of that, there's a significant disclaimer that folks are going to have to sign. As well as what's being proposed here is a clean, safe environment. Folks aren't being allowed outside into the parking lot, so to speak, as they're either bringing in specific allowed items to smash, which are then harvested right there and recycled and brought out to the recycle yard, or they have to purchase them on site and they're not allowed to take them out of the building. So it's very much a controlled environment. We have had dialogue with Ms. Abernathy as the allowed amount of folks that are going to be there. We will certainly abide by that. But everything that I have read of these types of similar institutions that are across the nation is it's a wide range of folks that are going there. I've already had folks reach out to me who have just had a friend post something online this week about the movie Office Space, if you're familiar with it, where there's a scene where the 3 gentlemen are smashing a printer. And she was saying, I want to smash my baby equipment, I'm done having babies. I just reached out to her and her comment was, I'd love to get a group of ladies together that we could smash and commiserate that we're done with our baby equipment, for example. So that's the sort of stuff, it's not just those who are 15 to 18 years old that this can attract. It's a wide range of folks, blue-collar professionals, you name it, that just want to let out a little bit of their inner child. And we believe this is a clean, safe venue to do so.
Be a good place for attorneys to settle mediation agreements.
So I think more than once, Mr. Austin and I have had mediators say to us,
At his office.
if we give these folks boxing gloves and we step out of the room, perhaps they'll resolve it.
I've got one question about insurance. I mean, this seems like it opens up a lot of liability to the town if somebody gets injured by flying glass or shards of metal or what have you. So can the town request like a hold harmless clause in an insurance policy?
For the town,
For the town?
be indemnified?
Yes.
Probably not, but the town has tort claim immunity, it has insurance of its own, and it has the police department. So we have ways and means of controlling our exposure.
Okay. The other thing is, here again, the other gentleman mentioned security. I didn't hear anything about security, because you do get a group of 18-year-olds in there, and they can get a little crazy. I mean, what type of security? Are you the security, or are you going to have a bouncer or two? Or?
Yeah, so that's a good question. What my clients have indicated, and I should have referenced that when I was going through the region rage rules, is only 2 people at a time within a room. And at all times, there's going to be someone present who is acting as that bouncer, either Mike or someone else who will be monitoring those 3 rooms at any point in time that someone is in them.
Yeah, but you're going to have 4 rooms, 1 smash bottle and 3 hammerjacking or whatever?
That's correct, yes.
All right, so
Yeah.
there's 8 people there.
It's possible, at one point in time, there could be.
Yeah, 8 people.
Yeah.
And then again, when you have your open mic, are the smash rooms open? Are they open before? And then they roll out of the smash rooms and sit down for open mic? I mean, I did some research too, and you're exactly right, that the psychologists and what have you say that this could be a good thing. But they also say, venting aggression is not a healthy long-term strategy in a sense. Rage rooms are conditioning people to convert impulse and irritation into physical assault. They also say a rage room likely would only reinforce those negative ways of coping with frustration and anger. And that's the part that I'm against. Because you're bringing angry people into town, you're handing them a 10-pound sledge or a case of bottles, extra bottles for $5, and here, smash the hell out of it, or beat this up, or do what you want with it. So, I mean, those are my concerns.
Sure. And Mr. Kapoor, I appreciate that. And I think initially when I saw the name Rage Room, that has a bad connotation to it, right? There's a perception that anybody who comes there has a anger problem. And I think that would be a misnomer than anyone that does. I think there's a lot of folks out there that would love an opportunity just to throw a glass bottle at a wall and see what happens. Doesn't mean that they have an anger problem. And the same thing could happen with a bar being established. One could say that there's a lot bad that can happen there. So Does that mean we diminish that? And as you point out in your research, yeah, is it possible that for some person this isn't the right outlet? Absolutely it is, but that's why there's a charge to it. It's a controlled environment. And if my folks see that someone shouldn't be there, they'll be able to tell them to leave.
As far as the venue for the live music, I think you talked about it being, 1,100 square feet?
Correct.
And then for 1,100 square feet, you figured 22 parking spaces, so you're figuring up to, 40 patrons at one time for an open night?
I mean, I wouldn't know.
I mean, would you?
I would think, in general, that would be a
Great night.
top end, yes. I mean, in all actuality, especially once we get going, you might have 3 people show up.
Okay.
You know, but,
Well, I'm just thinking about the security thing, that if now you've got, 20 carloads of people that wanna come in for a show or whatever, okay? And you're anticipating space, comfortable space, for 40 people, and every car brings 3 people instead of 2, now you're trying to cram 60 people into a space where maybe a lot of them don't know each other, and security, maybe an issue in a circumstance like that.
I think in a situation like that, going forward, we could look into, on those nights specifically, that there would be, in the open night when there would be a large number of people, if then we could procure security or an off-duty police officer, someone to be there with us if that was necessary. We hadn't really kind of put that into our business plan a bit, but I understand that that is a valid concern, that there would be more people than me and several employees and my wife could maybe manage that.
Okay. Anybody else on the board have questions at this time?
You said no alcohol sold there, can they bring? None on the premise, no matter what.
Now, all the various uses, this request is for a B3 use in a B2 zoning district.
Does this work like an escape room where they gotta make an appointment?
No. It's just when we're open, people can come in. We have things to do in the building other than just the rage rooms. There's the arcade room, there's other video games, there's just, so it's just while you're waiting, you can do that kind of stuff. There's the glass room that you can do while you're waiting. So just because we have other things that people can do, we were just kind of leaving it as, you could come in.
Certainly could, large groups certainly could make reservations, but no, that's not the intention with the different outlets that are available.
I just was thinking that'd be easier to control.
Easier to control, but also a little bit more difficult perhaps to capture the random passerbys, especially from a business model.
Do we have any, building department or, any other town, comments?
No other comments regarding this. Like I said last month, I reviewed this with the building inspectors and building departments. There have been no comments or feedback from them at that time.
And this is just one variance of use?
One variance of use, yes, there would be a recommendation to the town council.
Okay. John, for the couple of us that don't sit on the planning commission, you guys were talking about the B3 overlay for the Route 41 corridor.
Okay.
Can you explain how that works for us non-planning people? So this is a lot that's zoned B2. It's a B2 property. This is a B3 use in the B3 overlay district? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. Okay. And when you go to the B3, what comes in, which created some problems in the past, on 133rd is that they don't have the square footage on the property to meet B3. This piece of property does. It has 40,000 or a little over or right at 40,000. That's why I corrected that. So, I mean, it would meet the B3 zoning square footage requirements.
If it was zoned B3, would they even have to get a variance to open up a business like this?
For the additional use of the private studios upstairs. Because then you're using more than one use on the property.
Right, they wouldn't need one, they wouldn't need a variance for the B3 and B2, but they would need the variance for, the different uses, multiple uses. And it depends on how you classify it. I mean, there's an art studio upstairs, but there's no clientele going upstairs, so is that really being
Well, the
used?
art that's made upstairs will be sold downstairs in the retail store. And the
You know, now
music is practiced upstairs.
You've got the destruction rooms, whether it be with a hammer or glass, and you also have a store down there. So what are the two uses, the store and the rage rooms, or what are the uses here?
Are you gonna charge any kind of rent for
I'm a little confused on uses.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I guess what you have is, there's selling items, so it's retail, and then the remainder of it, I would call recreational use, is the umbrella that all the other uses can fall underneath. And granted, my client will be upstairs painting, but then he's gonna be selling items then downstairs underneath retail.
okay, I'm good with that,
Yeah.
you know, because no clients going upstairs, and,
Right.
but, you know, it's just private quarters.
Mhm.
You know, if he wants to sleep up there, let him sleep, I don't care. you know.
Right.
But, I'm just trying to figure out, we
Sure.
just have two basic uses. Under entertainment, you would have the open mic in the rage rooms,
Correct.
and then under retail,
You can buy glass bottles and such, you can buy snacks, and you can buy artwork. So that's where the retail falls in.
see, and I'm still long enough, you said maybe 3 guys on open mic night,
Yes, sir.
you know? And to me, it doesn't seem that you're gonna pay for electricity for it with 3 people there.
Well,
You know, but so you do become popular, and now you're gonna have 50 people there at open mic? Somebody might wanna come and hear me sing.
yeah.
That's what you get for 3 people.
And perhaps, Mr. Capura, what we could do is a probationary period of 6 months. And if there are concerns that are raised, something to that extent, we could come back in 6 months. And if there's some requirements, if this body feels appropriate, we can work something out on differing nights where there are going to be those menu nights where we come to agreement as to having perhaps an off-duty officer or security on staff.
And I'm glad to see that they fixed the fence already, because it's the responsibility either of them or the owner to fix that fence, regardless if there's a tenant in there or not.
Right.
And so, but they already went ahead and fixed it, so that's good. There were several spots in that fence that were, I don't know how many, but from the pictures I've seen, you know.
It needed attention.
Yes, and that's good, because if you're gonna store the destroyed product under that little lean-to in back, until you have enough to haul away to someplace, you know.
Yep.
But the other thing is, when the cars leave, if you have a big turnout on Mike night, they could be cutting across this gentleman's property, his mom's property. So I would like to see some sort of maybe, bollards or concrete, you know, that they put, dinner concrete mat.
Which you guys already stated that you would do that anyway.
Yeah, if we receive word, my clients have indicated, if they've received word that that's happening, they're happy to put something that's permanent to obstruct and prevent
Well, I'd
that
like
from
to see it
happening.
regardless of what's happening, I'd like to see it before anything is approved. But, I mean, in the approval, if it gets approved, or favorable sent to the town council. I mean, that's just for peace of mind to the residents around it. And one side is business, the other side is residential, so.
Right.
No, 2 sides are residential.
Yeah, one back and the
side.
yeah, south and east side.
So if that's the pleasure of this commission, I can certainly communicate that to the owners, to have something that's semi-permanent implemented.
Okay. All right. Ray, you have any additional questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Parker?
It's a confusing use to me, but, I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, okay, this is a recommendation of the town board, this is a variance of use. A motion should be made in the way of a, recommendation to the town council. If anybody would entertain, of making a motion. We can send favorable, or, favorable, unfavorable, and we can also send no recommendation. Hours of operation again were,
On Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 4 to 10, Saturday and Sunday, 2 to 10. We changed them. So they were easy.
so Thursday.
Mr. Chairman? May I?
Yes, please.
You know, the burden's on the petitioner. This is a unique use. The more unique uses are, usually the more sophisticated the approval process becomes. Just because, as you said, Greg, kind of confusing. I had a couple pages of notes here about the various points that were being made and exchanged. Those are what a business plan is, or a business model, or a zoning approval checklist. You can pick your phrase, pick your, your vehicle. And it would seem, and not by way of asking or suggesting delay or deferral, but you're about to make a motion that will refer this matter or certify this matter with a recommendation to the town council. It really ought to be a clean type of certification with all of this covered. You had a substantial remonstrance here tonight. Property owners are interested that are nearby. This is on our Route 41 corridor. It's really important to us that we maintain this. It's just important. And the documentation is good. It's a good start. Attorney Biss bringing us floor plans and site plans and descriptions. That's all good. That ought to be part of a certification to the council. But so should all of the various commitments, if you will. It can be done a number of ways. It can be done in the findings of fact with the certification from town staff and myself. It can also be simpler, but with a zoning commitment that perhaps Attorney Biss would prepare and provide so that you have that game plan off of their request, not the floating that happened, in kind of getting to the points. And then it's cleaner. You know what this petitioner proposes, you know what they're going to do. We don't have any guessing or land use approval examinations to make, which is a tough thing to do in our town as it's growing so fast. So just a suggestion about kind of the documentation, if you will, that would accompany your certification to the council.
You just led me to another question. Is there another one of these in the region that is operating right now?
In Maryville.
Maryville, there's one?
There's some in Chicago, Fort Wayne.
And that's the one in Maryville is called a Rage Room?
Yeah, it's, what is it,
Can't remember right now.
I can't think what the name of it is now. When I first found it, it seemed as though they were kind of operating with a mental health facility. They were taking insurance, but I think that since COVID and everything, they've opened their to more it was by appointment only, and now I've noticed that they are taking in walk-ins.
Well, there would be a place to get a sample of what kind of environment or activity happens at one of those things.
I think, to Mr. Osh's point, my suggestion to the commission here would be to make a favorable recommendation and make it subject to my clients providing adequate and reasonable security protocols, as well as adequate and reasonable parking lot safety measures. Those struck out to me to be the two of the bigger, larger issues that need to be addressed here. And if we can make a favorable recommendation that allows my client to continue forward, that gives them a couple of weeks here to assemble additional measures, protocols to address some of the concerns raised here this evening. We can certainly raise them with staff here, with Mr. Austin, and then share those with the town council.
Well, normally, we get all those conditions identified. Okay, I understand what Nathan is asking for, and I think you do too. Cart in front of the horse or behind the horse?
I do this at Plan Commission sometimes, and I think I'm gonna do it here. I'm gonna make a motion to defer this item so BZA members can do a little research on the activity and see if it's something that they wanna see here. And the second part of that is for you folks to do a little more work on honing this thing in and really presenting what you want the activities to be, the hours, the security, all things of those nature. And, yeah, that's gonna be my motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to defer this item to the next public hearing with some instructions.
So next month, maybe?
Till next month, yeah. Sometimes I just like to do some research on my own, look at sites and things of that nature to make a better informed decision. I don't wanna just form an opinion sitting here based on what I've heard so far.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second to defer this item to next month's public hearing. Any questions on the motion? Roll call?
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Pecora?
Yes.
Mr. Bundy?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Okay, motion passes 5-0. So you guys have time to do some homework and.
Very good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, here we go. Item number 1 in new business, Josh Heavner in the vicinity of 7,000 West, 146th Avenue, Cedar Lake. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to run electricity to an existing garage on a lot without a residential structure. Mr. Austin?
I'll catch up to you.
Okay. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Give us an idea what you'd like to do?
Yes, well, first of all, I know the house is a problem. Everybody wants to see it down, I want to see it down. I'm not sure how many of you know which house we're talking about, but it's a mess. I'm meeting with the unsafe building board, I think, next week, and we're going to discuss the removal of the house and what the best way to proceed is. That is my priority right now, is getting that house down and getting that lot cleared. Neighbor to the north of me did a nice job clearing his lot. I'm trying to kind of, I'd like it to look like they have by the end of the summer. That's the same goal. I got poison ivy everywhere. I've got the house falling down, a lot of deadfall, and I've been working on cleaning it up and trying to do the best we can right now. The place is an absolute mess. But when they tear the house down, there is power running to it now, to the house. So, not live, obviously, because the house is in, shambles, but they're going to have to take it off. And my request is they have a foot to the barn. I've got a lot of work to do out there, obviously. in the next few years here, and having power out there would really be a help. You know, I've got,
Did you buy this place, inherit it?
no, I bought it, it went on the market last year, and I jumped on it. I was looking for a place for some storage, it had a barn on it, it happened to be a beautiful lot, at the end of a dead-end street, it had a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to what the future is. I got a house in Crown Point, in Victoria, I've been working on it for about 20 years. Turned out real nice, and hoping to, you know, put the same effort into what I got out here.
Is this house gonna be your residence? Are you building to sell it?
No, I'm not gonna sell. There's only change. I want to put a smaller house out there. I was thinking potentially an Airbnb and a home for either my mother or my father died a few months ago, and eventually still become my responsibility. I've got a lot of family that comes in town for holidays. It would be nice to have a little place out there just for whatever. I mean, it's gonna.
And the time frame for that is?
Well, I'm trying to, you know, I don't have a lot of money. I spent most of what I had to purchase the property. I'm just trying to do one step at a time. Like I said, the place is wrecked, the barn is packed, the house is packed. I got to get a lot of junk out of there. Right now, I want to get the house down, get the lot cleared. Those are my next two steps. So I get that house down, and there's still a lot of work just to clear the lot. And, you know, I probably got the rest of this year trying to do that. The market's changed. Building a house right now isn't in my best interest, but I do want to do it sooner than later. But again, I'm just trying to go through one step at a time. The house is definitely next on the agenda.
Where's the barn located on the house?
It's on the same property. It's kind of an odd setup. There's a, more or less there's more or less a road between the house and the barn. I think the barn is on 3 lots, and then the house is on, I think, 5 or 6
So,
or 6.
the house is on lots 1 through 4 and 5 to 6 on the south side of the 146. The garage is on lots 10, 11, and 12 on the north side of the 146.
Is this all one lot subdivision, or?
It's part of the Shades Edition Plat D, so it's one of those old subdivisions that was platted before the town incorporated.
These lots are not on the same legal?
No, they're 2 separate legals.
No, so the barn is across the street.
The barn is across the street.
So the barn is on one parcel and the house is on another parcel?
Correct.
There's not much of a street. I mean, it's just there's no road there. The road just kind of dead ends.
Well, but it is
Yes, there's a road there, but I just wanted to.
But when you purchased the house, that barn was there inside the purchase, correct?
Yes, yes.
So it was one accusation, you bought both at the same time?
Yes, sir.
And so my understanding is you want to tear down the house that's sitting there and put electricity to the barn so you can make the barn workable while you go to build your house across the street.
Exactly. I've got a lot of tools and equipment in the barn right now, you know, just maintenance on all this stuff. I mean, and, you know, there's another issue too. I'm getting robbed out there. Somebody lifted my, log splitter, within the last week or so. To be honest, I didn't notice it was gone until I was walking around back, just starting to clean up some more of the deadfall, and I realized my log splitter was gone. I have no lights, there's no security, I have nothing to really protect this property. It's pitch black back there. I fear it's a matter of time before somebody just takes the door in the garage and empties it out. So I've got some security cameras out there, but they're trail cams. They're not really made for what I'm using them for. They're not helping me in the way I need help. So I'm starting to get nervous about that because there's some vandalism that's been happening. It's just, you know, it's a dead-end street. It's dark down there. There's that to tend with, but I think just, you know.
That place was all grown up for a long time.
Oh,
You can't even hardly tell that it was there.
Yeah, it's a mess. And the worst part is poison ivy on the property. You can't touch it in the summertime. I don't know how the neighbors in Northcott didn't get destroyed with poison ivy, but it's covered my whole property. So I'm trying to do a lot of it. Right now, in the winter and in the spring, we're gonna try to get in there and knock a bunch of that down, but I think the house is really the priority right now, not the lot. I'm just trying to get one step at a time. I'm trying to accommodate the neighborhood. I complain, I try to make sure we fix the problems. People ask for help, I try to help. I'm a little behind the learning curve with some of this. I am learning as I go with the proper steps and the proper channels, but to me, it would make the next year of the process of trying to get this place pulled together would just make it a lot easier if I had some power out there. Whether they put it in a barn or put a stake in the ground and put a meter on it doesn't really matter to me, but I think it would just be more convenient to do it in the barn. So that's where I'm at with this.
You gotta put an alarm system in on the barn to get electric on that?
Well, I mean, at least live action cameras and a light that will turn on, motion activated light. I want to put a camera on the outside of the barn door and one on the inside. I want to be pointing towards the house and the property. That log splitter getting stolen really broke my heart. I mean, I didn't have it very secure, but I thought the cameras would help me, and they didn't. So You
How
know,
long have you owned this?
I haven't had it a year yet. I bought it, I think I closed on I gave possession on a March 10th last year. And we've done a lot of work. I mean, give me another year, it'll look like a different piece of property, but it's just been kind of slow going.
And in regards to that garage, it's just, you're gonna use it for yourself.
Yeah.
It's not a place of business,
No.
you're not gonna put cars in there to repair on a side job.
No.
It's to power and to use the garage
Yeah.
to your best abilities.
Yeah, and, you know, to be honest, when I was looking for property, I was looking for something with a pole barn. I didn't, you know, the house was something, whether it had a house, I wanted a piece of property. If it could have a house, if it didn't have a house, you know, I wanted to be able to build. This place became available, the house was next. Like I said, it was a bigger deal than I thought, but we're gonna get through it. You know, I'm gonna get it torn down and get it cleaned up. But yeah, I have my personal vehicles in there. I had cars and bikes kind of scattered around.
But it's your stuff.
Yeah, it's all my stuff.
Yep.
So, and it's, you know, we're getting it together, we're trying. There's been some misinformation spread about what the intent of the property is, but really my intent is to pull it together, put a nice house on there, and then just pull the property together. I know that people in the neighborhood are tired of it. It's been 15 years, I think, abandoned.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been in disrepair for
Yeah.
probably 20, but,
Yeah.
but it's been close to vacant for
Yeah.
every bit of 12, 14 years.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had the money to move a little faster. If this had happened a year ago, when I was refinancing my house, it'd be a different process. You know, I'd have the money to jump right in and do it all in one shot. But as it stands, I'm trying to do this out of pocket. At some point, I'll have to take out a loan and build the house, but I'm hoping to not be in debt when that time comes. So, again, next week, we're gonna talk to, Unsafe Building, and they're gonna tell me the best route to get the house down, because I'm in as big a hurry as anybody, you know. I think they've been staring at it for years, but I don't want it on the property, and I don't want to have to keep dealing with it. I know it stinks, there's rodents out there, it's just a mess.
So this has a dedicated road separating the house from the garage.
It does not have a dedicated road. There is.
It is a dedicated.
Well, and I'm sorry, I apologize. If you look on the overhead, you can see it, but when you pull up, there was just grass.
It's a dedicated
Yes,
road.
I apologize. Then there's one at the bottom of the hill too.
So even if you do tear that house down and build a house, you're still gonna have a garage on a vacant lot. But
Yeah,
not
I
a
know.
primary.
You know, when we bought the place, I didn't really think of what kind of an issue it was gonna be, but
Two
being that it is on a
separate
separate lot,
properties
it is
across
kind of
the
a
street.
Right.
Right.
In that case, it was built like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't adjacent to this house or part of it. Wasn't it built like that?
I actually did some digging because I wanted to come prepared for this item. The garage received an original variance and variance of use approval in 1994. So in 1994, variance of use is accessory structures on a lot without a primary structure were required to go in front of the town council. So in 1994, it received a 5-0 approval for the accessory use on the lot. And then also in 1994, at the September 22nd town council meeting, it passed a favorable recommendation. So it was not built originally with the garage across the street. A variance was obtained and received in 1994.
So that grandfathers it in?
It's still legal
Legal
non-conforming.
non-conforming.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's.
But it is still.
If it was on the same premises as the house, then I would say there would be an argument, because I used to be on the unsafe building boards, there would be an argument to tear both structures down, but these are two freestanding properties.
Mhm.
And it was given approval in 1995.
The only thing we're given approval was to run power to it.
I'm talking about for the structure
For
to
the
be
structure.
separate from the residence, which is kind of a slippery slope, but we got approval.
If you guys would, this picture is in, I think it's the final picture in the packet, but this wall here that gets cut off by the pic, this used to have a carport overhang.
Yes.
And the previous owners, if you look, it would be on, I guess it's the last page, it's
Page
7 in the packet. But the pavement that's shown in the bottom right-hand corner is actually the original floor of the carport. And before they built the garage across the street, that was really the only structure or storage area on the house, or for the house.
Okay, so my question here is that garage is grandfathered in?
Legal non-conforming is what it's called.
Right,
Right.
so the only thing in question here is whether we allow electricity run to it or not?
Without a,
I'm not
without a
sure we
primary
have that.
residency, correct?
Pardon?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I said, but it still says in the variance request, on a lot without a residential structure.
But it doesn't matter because it's legal non-conforming. It's there from an approval that was given by a body of this town 25, 30 years ago, whatever the record.
Well,
I know of other ones, other situations like that. Chris Keller had one, my brother had one. And they had to get their approvals because it was across the street. They didn't have the property to build a structure on the existing lot with the house.
okay, and the only thing that's in front of the unsafe building is the house,
Yes,
not the garage,
not the barn,
or the barn, or whatever you want to call it.
there's a whole barn there.
I would like to see some kind of a timeline, you know, if you're gonna run electricity to it, I hate to see electricity run to that garage and be there for the next 5 years without anything going on, other than what you're doing in the garage.
Well, the barn's, like I said, the house is coming down in the spring, one way or the other. If I have to do it or the town does it, so that's the next step.
Is there ever electric in the barn?
Yeah, there was, and I know that it wasn't supposed to be, but somebody told me at one point that there was never, but there was a conduit run underneath the street, and there was power in the barn when I bought it. So I did assume that that was gonna be okay when I purchased the property again. I'm a little behind the learning curve on this.
Well, then you can imagine.
There it is, yes. Yeah, I mean, in the power, there was bare wires hanging, and it was a mess in there. We pulled it back together, because it was just if you saw the barn, you couldn't take a step in it when I bought
Well,
it.
when you go to put in, it'll all be inspected anyway.
Right.
So, and that's,
I mean,
I think.
we've complied to, you know, I've complied to whatever the town, they've come out and, you know, they've
You're gonna get inspection.
had some requests, and we've taken care of what we can, and neighbors have asked for some favors, and I try to do what I can for them. I mean, it's trying to get through this thing, it's just a mess, and it'd be a lot easier if I had some power out there. They're running generators and stuff, and nobody wants to hear those things running all the time, and I don't.
Okay. You wanna have a seat for a minute? We'll, do we have your demonstrators for this variance?
Jeff, while you're doing that, the legals are in order.
The legals are in order, okay.
They are.
And publications?
Okay, everything's in order.
Patrick Mullen, I live directly next door, and, yeah, this house has been wrecked forever. I mean, I can't believe the town let it go this long, yes.
Real quick, street address?
You're at.
7111 West 146th Avenue. Yeah, but it's a wreck, I mean, give this power, but let's make an agreement and tear down the house. I can't have people come over and sit on my deck, this is what they're all looking at.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
He's not gonna have a choice on that house.
yeah. Well, it should come down. I mean, it's been like this for 30 years. I can't go to bed at night with windows open because of the smell of cat, raccoon, and possum. We've got health problems, and this has been going on for 30 years, really, Tom?
I completely understand.
We let this go for 30 years?
I can't
I
believe,
battle it.
I can't believe that was let go for 30 years.
30 years, son.
But I'm gonna tell you, it's two, we're talking about two separate items. That's an unsafe building item.
Well, it needs to come down.
And they are gonna tear it down.
Yeah, it needs to come
That's
down.
coming.
This has been too long.
And then what?
I dealt with this like 10 years ago. I went over your head, I went to county. They came out, took pictures. He says, you know what, if this house was next to the Lighthouse Restaurant, they would've done torn it down.
We can
I can't
understand
have
that we're not,
people
we're not
come over and sit on
arguing
my
about
deck.
But it's going
We're
down.
talking about the power in the garage.
Take it down.
It's coming down.
Next week is unsafe building, so.
It is, yeah, but it's been like this.
They've already,
Next week is the meeting.
Yeah,
it's going through the process. I've been witness to a few of those unsafe building meetings because they're before plan commission, and this house is gonna get torn up.
Oh, I hope so, yeah.
No, I mean, it was.
I'd like to go to bed one night with my windows open and not smell raccoon and cats and possums.
Yeah, that house is.
Snakes, varmints.
It'll be easier.
I've been over the last 10
If you
years, I
agree
spent
to it.
$1,000 in
It'll be
poison.
easier if you agree to the
Which is-
demolition
which
of the
sounds like
house.
you-
Let's agree to it.
I'm just trying to find the best source. I know the town had said that they could help me with that. I don't know if that's written in stone. If the town's not gonna be able to help me, I have to tear it down myself. I have to figure out a way, but it's coming down in the spring, guys.
He's not gonna have a
Let's
choice.
give a timeline.
He is,
Timeline.
have to decide with the town instead of being tear down, because that's for the policy call as to how it
We've
happens.
got health issues.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
If I had to bet, knowing the way the machine works around here, that's not gonna take very long for them to make a decision to demolish that house.
It'll probably be next Wednesday night.
Well, we talked, they called me in, I was here, 90 days, November, they asked me to attend the meeting, and I did, and we talked about it then. I told them, you know, I hadn't planned on doing anything till spring, you know, it was going into the winter time, I work a lot, guys, I work a ton of hours, especially in the winter time. My plan was, for the time I bought the house, to tear it down this next year after I had to clean up this mess, and now the house is going, that's the plan, so.
I think everybody understands your concern, but that's already underway.
Yeah,
So
my God, yeah.
Nothing's gonna get resolved.
You know,
that you're
and people come over and it's like, good God, what is this? Do you own that? No. Yeah, it's been like that for a long time. It's been long overdue, way overdue. It's a hot mess.
Tonight's just about the barn.
It's not the
Okay,
bar,
well,
so.
okay, give us electricity, but let's make a timeline to get this house down, and then I'll agree to electricity in his garage. Otherwise, I'm gonna deny it.
When's the unsafe building meeting?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. You'd be here and talk to those folks. See,
Okay.
light a fire under them.
Yeah.
We don't have any authority.
What time is that meeting at?
6 o'clock,
There you go.
next Wednesday. 6
Next
o'clock.
Wednesday, 6.
Wednesday, January 18th, 6 p.m.
All right, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, John.
Anybody else?
Good evening. My name's Sandra Bungie, and I live at 14619 Bell Place here in Cedar Lake. Our property is about 3 doors down, I would say just south of the gentleman's property here. And I don't know who I would address my concerns to, if this is even the proper meeting to mention it, but last summer, there was quite a few occasions, I couldn't sit outside because of the smoke that was bellowing from his property got so bad that I had to go inside. Couldn't even enjoy sitting on my patio because from my understanding, he's burning toxins from the house.
You had a fire?
Well, we had a lot of fires out there, but I mean,
Todd Wilkening was gonna give me 15 years to life for having a fire. What's the story with the fire?
He's on 133rd Avenue.
Well, I mean, there's an ordinance in town that there's no fires.
So that's, you should call.
Is he not doing his
nobody
job?
said anything, and there was nobody ever approached me, or they didn't know, so.
I would think that you would call, police department or fire department, and when it comes to that, it's your safety, and they're not supposed to have fires going, so.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no fires allowed in Cedar Lake.
I didn't know.
Do you have a problem, ma'am, with him putting power to the garage?
No, I don't have a problem with that, but yes, I would like to see the house down, but if he needs to have the power in the garage in order to do that, then I would say, yes, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, I mean, that's what we're ruling on, just so
Okay.
you're aware of. We stated before with the other gentleman, the house is going to be talked about taking down on Wednesday at 6 o'clock here.
Yeah, and they're not gonna burn it down.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe he's burning out of his garage too, though.
There is a wood burner there to keep us warm,
You can't, I mean, I have no authority, but I was told by the fire chief that there will be no fires for any reason, period.
No, there's a wood burner stove.
The wood burning stove.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, that's that you have to, again,
For
you
now.
have to take that up.
That may go with the gas stove, but
Well,
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all I have.
Anything else to add for this time?
No, that's all I have. Thank
All
you.
right. Hold on. Any other remonstrators, for or against?
Good evening. Good evening, Terry Broaders, 14513 Morris. I'm actually the neighbor to the north of Josh. He mentioned me a little bit earlier. For me, this isn't about electric. I mean, you see, he's got pretty much got the building going pretty good. He's doing a lot of work, nice work. I've seen it. My worry is that if you give him the electric, you knock the house down, well, now he loses his toilet, he loses his water, his plumbing. I worry about, well, if he does hang out there and you know, in the long haul, we're, you know, if they are drinking, having a good time, you know, we're gonna have guys coming in and out, probably. I don't think I have to explain it any farther. Now, maybe it doesn't happen, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I sure hope I am. Invested all my life savings in the property right behind the barn. I own the property from Morris all the way down to the creek almost. I wrap around the barn actually. So when I first came in and spoke with Gloria before she had moved on, I had actually referenced with her this property because I remember that it went on the market. It went on the market on a Friday. Josh landed it on Monday, I think, didn't you, Josh? Or had a contract in on Monday, I think? I think I saw you look, Josh, and just to, I don't mean you no ill will. I want you, I'm gonna extend an olive branch to you one more time. I don't mean you any ill will. It all started when the regrading of the road took place. So you guys talked about the road earlier. And so what happened was, is that, you know, as Josh was waiting to close on his property, I was already on my property investigating it probably 2-3 weeks earlier before that house even hit the market. Now, Josh, I was actually right there on Sunday when you drove the maroon truck. You had the red three-wheeler in the back. I saw you look at the house. I mean, I've been on that property a pretty long time. I'm not trying to change. I'm sorry, John. I'm trying to extend an olive branch because we've done a lot of friction. So what had happened was, is as I was waiting to close, and he had already closed, he had some regrading done and created a pretty big drop-off with grindings, asphalt grindings that actually went over grass and clay. So you had mentioned it earlier, Mr. Bungie, about where the road had ended. The road had ended about 25 foot into the barn. It allowed a slight drive up to the barn, and it was already past the carport. Now, I will agree, it was virtually not a paved road. By that time, all the plows pushing down, and they would leave it the piles at the end. It was pretty much gravel, you know, down there. But once he did the regrading, he brought the grading all the way to the end of his property and created a drop-off. Well, first thing I did was I went in and I saw Chris. This is the day before I closed on the property. I went in, I talked with Chris. I said, Chris, this road's been regraded, and I was told by Gloria this was the access I would have to use, and I was informed I'd have to build the road because of the new rules. I've been reading the book. I know the new rules pretty well inside and out. Yeah, I got one if you need one.
I got one too, right?
Did you get the nice spiral one?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I did when you guys were mentioning it. I did that. And so that's when I went in to Chris, and Chris informed me, no, that's the road you're gonna use, it'll all work out. Well, after all that time, there's been a little friction in between. It's not this board's issue, and I don't think Josh and I need to go through all that one more time. But again, it's not about the electricity, it's about what comes after, right? What if it doesn't become a house? What if it does become our worst nightmare? I mean, I don't have a house there built there yet, but my plan was, I was hoping to be already on the ground with gravel laid down, and as you know, the market is changing, and, you know, it's gonna get easier and a little bit cheaper to build as we go, but I don't get any indication that I'm even gonna be able to get down my road. Every time I tried to extend an olive branch to try to figure out a solution, I've met it with complete rejection. So, again, this to me isn't about electric, it's about the neighborhood. As you guys recited all the rules, I mean, you guys covered them all. There's all kinds of reasons. In fact, when I spoke with Gloria that day, it was, in fact, if you go back to the listing, I believe the barn actually was listed as, the barn has no electric and you have to apply for variances from I'm thinking the details of the real estate listing. I mean, again, I got my life savings in that property. I got nothing else, you know, what am I gonna do now? Quite frankly, if Josh does really good work, if he does whatever he does there and he keeps it clean, I got no golf, there's no problems here, right? I mean, even David mentioned one time, we're all neighbors. And we all have to figure out how to get along, but you know, when all the things that have happened on this property that probably, I would be a fool to think you guys don't know. But, again, I would just like to see my road open back up so maybe I can build my dream. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other correspondence, anybody online?
Nothing provided to me, no one online in common for this property.
Okay. Anybody else for or against? Anyone else? Close the public portion of this hearing.
I have a question.
Yes.
Bob and Dave, has the road been closed down there or something? Is that a town council involved in the road being closed or something?
Not in my knowledge, but
146?
we need to look and check records about vacations.
I can provide a little bit. So back in June, July, Mr. Broadhurst had come to town hall, stating that illegal millings had been dropped off at the bottom, at the back of 145th. Tim Kubiak, Chris Lavis, Chief Fisher, multiple code enforcement, all had gone out there. A stop work order had been put on the property. The millings had been removed. To my knowledge, that's the only thing that Mr. Broadhurst is talking about. There's nothing else blocking
I was
the
just
property.
confused. I wanted to make sure that he hadn't done anything to impede his entrance or anything like that.
If I could just, before Josh speaks, just to clarify what Ashley had said, there was two dumpings. First one was the grindings, the second one was, a whole other situation which I'd rather not discuss.
Is anything there now?
The original grindings are still there,
Is it passable?
no, because you'll drop off. He moved the grinding so close to Bell where it went down gradually, and then I would have turned left to go down to my property. It's kind of maybe about a 6-foot straight drop right now, maybe 5, 4. I'm not worried about, I'm just hoping some of the grade would come out. I'm not, what he graded out on his property, that's your guys' issue, not mine. I think I heard, in one of the meetings, I've been coming to all of them, I think above 4 inches, you have to pull a permit for grading and adding. So,
Unless, I guess I was
Well,
trying to
there's been
understand if there was
feet
something
added in there.
malicious or something. It doesn't sound like there was.
Craig, there's been feet added. If you dug down through the, grindings in the road area, if you don't mind, I can point out here.
Actually, I don't mind, but all I'm trying to make sure is that that's a separate issue from the
You're right.
BZA issue.
You're right,
That's gotta be somebody else to handle that. But I think if there was something done there that was deliberately malicious, that might have some sort of, it doesn't sound like there was, though.
The road's been blocked.
I can explain it if I could have a second. I don't know that this has any bearing on the conversation.
I don't
We'll hear about
think
it.
it does at this
I didn't
point.
think so either, but.
No, not for this particular point at hand. But at one time, that was a relatively passable, residential grade street that came all the way down to the easement where the,
Sewer cap is there at the bottom, there's a sewer line that's existing.
but.
Right at the bottom at that 146 in Bell, there's a sewer cap at grade. And if you go north up through my property, there's an end line
If I
cap.
may, public comment has been closed. We need a clean record. Mr. Broadhurst, can you please not talk unless you crawl to the podium?
I'm sorry.
Unless Mr. Chairman calls you to the podium.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please refrain from public comment at this time. Thank you. Would you resume your comment, Mr. Chairman? Thank you.
It was a pretty decent street at one time. It just over time and lack of use and it became disintegrated and.
Everything east of Moore Street pretty much had been ignored for everything else.
Well,
All of that needs to get reconstructed, but that's a separate issue for a separate body.
Correct. Okay. I guess the only problem that I have, and this is another horse before the cart type of situation, is how do we enforce something where we know we're gonna get a primary structure on this, on this parcel? Now, it's obviously 2 different lots.
I don't know if he can, and refer to the attorney, I don't know with it being 2 different legals and 2 different properties, that he can be required to put a structure on the other lot.
He can't.
He can't.
He can't.
I was just speaking from experience, but he knows.
Right.
Please remember, this is Old Cedar Lake too, and all the things that went on varied from place to place to place, so nothing ever happened the same way twice.
Yeah.
But legally, on just purely the fact pattern we're talking about here, improvement on one lot, house on another, they're separate lots, those are platted lots.
So there's two separate structures and neither one of them are the anchor to the other one, the way that it is. And that's just the way that it got.
Okay, but that's not the intent of when this variance of use was probably given, correct?
It sounds like, according to what Ms. Abernathy said, that it was approved based on its standing.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
I thought otherwise, when you ask a question about it, or somebody asks a question about it, that's why my opinion is that this is legal non-conforming and it's permitted.
So whether he builds a house there or not, that's one of those odd situations where that structure stands, unless it becomes an unsafe condition, which it doesn't look like it is currently.
Okay, well then under the revelations then we made here tonight, does he need a variance?
I would have thought, no. I would have thought that he could walk into the town hall, pull the permit, and put electricity in that building without a variance. But I'm not an attorney and I don't know this new zoning ordinance, but because it's two separate properties and two separate structures, it would make sense that it would be just a go in and pull the permit.
The extension of the electricity, though, would need to be in conformance with town codes and requirements, whatever they are.
Permitted and inspected and,
Right.
yeah.
Like a building permit.
Which he's gonna have to anyway.
Right. Right.
That's one of those things where you kinda gotta be careful what you approve, because long term it's happened in more than one instance. And you just know that because I spent a lot of time here.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, he can go ahead, just pull a permit and put electricity in that barn without a variance,
Well, someone felt that it was a gray area, that's why it's here.
okay?
If the answer is yes to your query.
That's fine.
So as far as, like I guess I asked it before, with the revelations that have come out as far as how this was passed in the past, Greg feels, and I'm feeling that Dave feels, that this is kind of a moot point because we really shouldn't even be here.
That's what I think. That's my opinion.
That's the point I was trying to get to, yeah.
Well,
Thank you, no, that's just, you know,
And there was unanimous approval by a Board of Zoning Appeals here in 1994, with a unanimous approval of the town council thereafter, same year or next year. Something was felt to be right at the time.
so then basically, you can go ahead and pull a permit and there's electricity there without any approval from this board. And then as far as the house that's coming up next week at on-site building, they're gonna dictate what he can or can't do there, and what they're gonna tell him is tear it down, from what I see it is, and from what I heard tonight.
On overwhelming odds, that would be their,
Yeah,
as we're sitting here talking about it,
Yeah.
what they will do.
yeah.
No guarantee, but everything but that.
So we don't need to vote on or make any motions or approvals or anything.
I'd recommend you don't, so that the record doesn't cloud itself up even more.
So this request should be withdrawn?
It can either be withdrawn, or it could be
Dismissed.
deferred for him to withdraw it. Yeah, withdrawal probably is most effective.
Do you understand?
I do, I came in the spring and this is what I was telling them to do, so.
No, we understand that, it's just, we were just as confused.
I just wish we could do something about putting some teeth behind it to make sure that building comes down and...
Well, that,
Well, it will next week.
Okay, well, but if,
Jeff, that building's coming down.
well,
Whether he agrees to it or not, it's coming down.
I gotta talk to that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, whether he builds anything there, that's another question.
All right, so the ball's in your court, sir.
Mr. Chairman, just for a little bit of clarification, the reason this was brought before you is historically, garages across the street, accessory structures across the street have come before the board for electric to the garage because we've not been able to process building permits for garages across the street for electric service. That's why this has been brought in front of you.
Well, we've done it in the past because we have a situation where somebody has a home lot that's not big enough for them to put a storage structure on. They buy a lot across the street or acquire a lot across the street, and now they want storage across the street without a primary structure.
Which is why that building exists right now. That's how it got approved.
It is.
But once it gets approved, it's there.
But there's still a primary residence there in the equation.
At the time there was, but all these years later, they're two separate lots. You can't go after a outlot because something happened on this lot 20 years. If it was an adjacent property and they were all on one legal or contiguous, then
Yeah, absolutely. If they're contiguous, we'd be having a different discussion, right?
yeah, then it would be demolished probably with the house. But because it is on two separate, am I right?
You are, and you know that the Plan Commission considers periodically petitions for one-lot subdivisions that are making those parcels lots of record. And that's exactly why we're doing it. Simplifies the legal, number one, but number two, also gives us more enforcement authority over what happens on the parcel itself. It makes everything one on that parcel. We've done that several times in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's, when I was on the unsafe building commission, that's how everything, I mean, if the garage was good, the house was bad, or one or the other, everything came down.
We have one over here on 132nd, or 135th, right behind us.
But this is a different deal.
Okay, so do you understand what's transpired here this evening?
I believe so.
Okay, so-
I can go to the town and apply for a permit and everything should move forward from there?
They're not gonna give you a permit, sir, until the building is addressed by the unsafe, so.
Yeah, until that building's done, you can't pull
Until
for it.
next Wednesday.
Okay.
That's just because you have that business outstanding.
You're talking taking the house down? Okay, the only thing I was thinking is it would streamline it if I took the power from the house to the barn all in kind of one move, because they're gonna have to pull it off before they tear the house down. That was kind of the point of coming before I tore it down. I was just
Yeah, that's
trying to-
probably not gonna work out.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, if we know we're on the right path, it's been very confusing 9 months. I didn't know which way I was going with this, I was so out of the things, I spent a lot of money getting the petitions and the letters and the permits and all that stuff pulled so I could make this happen, so whatever, I'm happy to oblige. I mean, and as far as any of the neighbors that are in the room, I was a little bit behind the learning curve when I started this, but, I am here to accommodate. I don't want to mess up anybody's peaceful neighborhood or anything like that, and, any issues I'll address as soon as I can, and,
The sooner you get that house done, the sooner you can get your electrical permit, because I'm sure that they're not gonna give you one until that deficient property is taken care of.
My only question is, and maybe this is a question for the board next week, I'm still a little confused on, is the town gonna take it down, or are they gonna give me an option, or how does that work? Because my question is, if I had to tear it down
Yeah, that's
myself.
wrong board, the jury's out on that. You're gonna have to go with the town council or the unsafe building department to figure that out.
Well, if I had to tear it down myself, if it was something where I was gonna have to pay or do it myself, that was kind of where I wanted the power in place before I had to get involved in that kind of a process, but, we can work around it. Like I said, as long as
I don't,
know
again, I
what
think it's a horse before the cart type of situation.
That's
It
your
makes
only
it sound
solution.
like
That's fine.
if you've got outstanding town business, as far as an unsafe building, they won't even consider a building permit until
Okay.
that particular issue is resolved and put to bed.
Okay. Well, I'm as excited to get it torn down as anybody else.
All right, well, so would you like to withdraw your request for the variance at this
I
time?
suppose if that's the right route here, if this is gonna get us all where we need to be, then yes, that's fine.
All right, do we need to take any further action other than accept the?
Is withdrawal?
Yeah, I solicit a motion to accept.
Okay.
take a vote.
All right. You heard it, folks, we have a petitioner that would like to withdraw his variance request.
I'll make a motion, we accept the petitioner's request to withdraw his petition.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the petitioner's withdrawal request. Any questions on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Capura?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Bundy?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen, I appreciate it.
Josh, I would call NIPSCO too, ahead of time, maybe they can send somebody out there, take a quick look and see how that might work, man.
Yeah, again, there was a bad learning curve on my part, and I had NIPSCO come out at one point. I thought that was the first step I had to do in the whole process, and they had already given me the plan on what they wanted to do. They had somewhat of a plan and an idea, but again, it was a little premature, I apologize.
Yeah.
We'll get them out there again, and we'll get it squared away.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. Back to old business, item number 1, White on 146th Avenue. Obviously, you've received nothing from them since we started the meeting.
I'll make a motion to defer that item to the next meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to defer. Questions? Roll call.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Capura?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Bundy?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. All right. Press. Public comment. Nobody? Anybody? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion been made and seconded to our adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? BTA